Good morning, everybody. I'm Rob Evans. Happy Friday to you, and welcome to Daybreak Plus. We are recapping all the local news you missed overnight, and then we're going deep into the topics that actually matter to you and what matters to a lot of us right now. Today kicks off the first day of South by Southwest, a huge 2-week-long festival showcasing innovations in film, music, technology, and more. And it's bringing a lot of money to Central Texas. Angelou Economics estimates there are about 45,000 badge holders. 45,000. Now, if you don't have a badge, no problem. There are still plenty of free events going on as well. Our crew saw other crews setting up for free events starting on Sunday. There's a live music from Sir Woman, Ghetto, Gala, Pedal Steel, Noah. They say that South by says that to bring a picnic or enjoy food from local food trucks. It's happening from 3 to 7 p.m. again on Sunday. Lots of free live music. Next week for Radio Day stage featuring some of Austin's radio outlets. International Nights will highlight musicians from around the world. And on Wednesday is Austin Industry Day, a chance for people to check out innovators in tech, design, entertainment, health, wellness, and more. And these are just some of the free events that are going on. There are some at the Convention Center, some at the Austin Public Library, some on the South Lawn of the Texas Capitol. But if you are going down there, allow yourself plenty of time with traffic and to try and find parking. And if you're flying in, yikes, airport leaders expect a busy weekend. Airport officials say about 30,000 people will be taking off from Austin each day on Sunday and Monday, and then again on March 30th and 31st. So if you're traveling on any of those days, or really any time during South by, get to the airport at least 2.5 hours before your departure time. If you're new to the area, you're like 2.5 hours, it's way too early. Trust me, you want to get there 2.5 hours just in case, especially those Monday flights. Yikes. All right, it is graduation day for Austin Police Department cadets. 29 cadets will soon join the force, and the cadets will be commissioned during graduation ceremonies on, again, Friday. Take a listen to what it sounds like.
Yo, yo, ooh, ha, what? I got it, yo, yo.
Well, this was yesterday. They took part in the traditional Chiefs run, running with Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis. She says staffing shortages are improving, but the employment agreement with the city and the police union reached last fall is helping. Take a listen.
So the recruiting efforts since the contract has been signed has been exponential. So it's really taking off, and I really feel confident that we can put at least 3 classes in a year and keep that going so we can be stabilized in about 1.5 to 2 years.
Now, the department is still about 340 officers short. That is a big, big number. Chief Davis says she expects another cadet class to start in April, hopefully with 100 new recruits. All right, on to politics right now. It's 7:03, and we are now past the 50-day mark in the legislative session, and there's a debate in the Texas Senate over who can own land in Texas. Lawmakers at the Capitol, where you see right there a live shot of, spent Thursday hearing testimony on Senate Bill 17. It aims to restrict who can own land in our state. And if it's passed, the bill would block people from nations that pose national security threats from buying land here. The ban would apply to countries of the Director of National Intelligence's annual threat assessment list for 3 straight years, and that currently includes China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Now, the bill does not prevent foreign business investment here in Texas. Take a listen to what they have to say about this.
The bottom line on this is this bill is about ensuring that Texas's land and their natural resources, our natural resources, are protected and making sure that they don't fall into the hands of some countries that would not wish us well.
And there is some concern among some Asian Americans who say the bill is discriminatory, unconstitutional. Several people have testified saying this bill paves the way for widespread racial profiling. Here's what they had to say.
This bill could have the unintended consequence of negatively affecting every one of us by making home sellers lose value. Worst case scenario would be unintendedly fanning the fire of xenophobic nationalism, which couldn't be further from the bill's intention, patriotism.
That bill is still pending in committee. this morning. If it passes out of committee, it'll need the approval of the full Senate. And 7:05 right now, and a heads up if you're heading to Lady Bird Lake this morning, it's going to be warm enough right for it. But don't be alarmed if you see a lot of Texas DPS troopers down there. Nothing's going on. They're just doing a training exercise. They're going to be in the water from about 8:30 a.m., so about an hour and a half from now until 11 a.m. And right now, again, at 7:05, getting a look at weather and traffic, starting with Grace. And it's not going to be too crazy cold to get in the water, or at least be on the water.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's getting on the water, but maybe, honestly, this afternoon is going to be very almost hot out there. A little preview for you. And looking outside this morning, we do have cloudy conditions on hold. However, those are going to start to make way for sunny conditions later on this afternoon. A lot of our temperatures outside are actually pretty warm out there. 60 degrees for many of us, 63 for Austin, Cedar Park also looking at 63 and 63 for Spicewood as well, 64 for Dripping Springs there. A little bit cooler out towards the hill country, 60 degrees in Mason and 61 for Llano and Fredericksburg. And also a little bit cooler over towards LaGrange, 56, sorry, getting my 60s mixed up this morning. All right, into today, we're going to see much warmer temperatures across the map. Southwesterly wind in place for today. You know, we're going to see a lot of sunshine too. We won't be cloudy all day long. 84 for Austin and potentially up towards the upper 80s for areas in the hill country. Now, thankfully, we are not going to be seeing an issue with our allergies too much for today, but I would suggest taking that allergy medication anyway, because as we move through tomorrow, some breezy conditions could take that cedar right back up to the high category. Now, a brief look at our weekend here. South by Southwest, of course, starts this weekend, and we will be seeing kinds of a transitional weekend here. So we'll have a cold front incoming tonight into tomorrow morning. This will give way to a few showers for the morning hours, but also will give way to a fire weather watch as we head into Saturday afternoon. So here's a little look at Saturday morning. We'll start to see that cold front moving through early on around 7:30 or 8 a.m. As that moves on through, it will be a little bit slow at the start. 1 p.m. we still have some warmer air over on the eastern side, but cooler air will be filtering in behind this front. It'll take a little bit more time for it to get here, but mostly what we'll be noticing on Saturday is those very breezy winds that are going to come in with that cold front for Saturday evening. Now, it leads to our fire weather watch, 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday, gusting up to about 35 miles per hour. Again, you can see that this isn't all of the KVUE viewing area. This is just kind of our southern regions. And then, of course, that fire weather watch extends over towards San Antonio. So here's a brief look Saturday afternoon and evening, 6:30 p.m. above 25 miles per hour for all of those gusts across town. So we need to be keeping our wits about us and making sure that we're aware of anything that could cause a spark over the next couple of days. Into Sunday, we'll dry things out and we will cool things down, only expected to get to the mid-60s out there. And then 75 degrees and sunny for Monday. We love to see that, and we're gearing towards the upper 80s for next week. I even see some 90s on the forecast for a few of our models, so we'll have to track that for you guys. All right, we do have a check on traffic this morning. Let's make sure that we get to that as well. Looking at our live TxDOT cameras for the moment, not looking too bad. Honestly, not really even too active either. There were definitely some more people out there earlier on this morning. Time now 7:09. A little slow for Manor, a little slow for Round Rock. Buda, certainly slow. If you're coming in from that area, they are dealing with a couple of snags on the roadways. We did have a stalled vehicle just outside of the airport. That has since been cleared, but it is a little bit stop and go in some places around the Del Valley area, so be careful of that. There also is a lane blockage. That's going to be a crash I-35 northbound to exit towards William Cannon Drive there. That is certainly going to cause some major slowdowns. As you could see, 14 miles per hour coming in from Buda. There also is another crash nearby. This is going to be on Slaughter Lane and Bluff Springs Road, and that is also causing some minor traffic issues, we'll say. And then up on the north side of I-35, this is going to be I-35 southbound, exit to 237A towards Airport Boulevard. That's been red for a while and even, continues to get more red as we head up towards the north. As for the hill country, you guys are A-okay for this morning. No snags there. A couple of drive times for you guys. Buda to downtown, 74 minutes. Yikes. All right, Round Rock to 183, 17 minutes. Not as bad over over that way. And then we also have Mopac to downtown, 14 minutes, and Mopac to Cesar Chavez looking pretty good. All right, back to you, Rob. Happy Friday.
Oh, yes. Happy Friday to you as well. Well, Southwest Airlines plans to close its flight attendant hub here in Austin. Southwest, of course, trying to consolidate staff. Right now, 150 flight attendants are based in Austin. Anyone affected will be transferred to one of the airline's 12 primary bases, which are currently located across the country. The hub here will close July the 1st. And also based Tesla facing 3 citations from OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. They're related to the death of Victor Joe Gomez Sr., an electrician who died while inspecting electrical panels at the local gigafactory back in August. Now, his family sued Tesla, saying that panel should have been turned off before he worked on it. And another one of Elon Musk's companies, SpaceX, having a setback. Starship rocket exploding mid-flight. It sent debris falling down from the sky, disrupting air travel in parts of Florida. Here's ABC's Rihanna Ali.
This morning, SpaceX hit with another setback in its mission to one day send astronauts to the moon. Another massive rocket exploding minutes after launch last night. The flaming debris streaking across the sky, visible from South Florida
Oh my gosh, it does.
to the Bahamas.
What in the world? Where did that come from?
The 403-foot Starship rocket launched from Texas just before sunset. SpaceX caught the first stage booster back at the pad with those giant mechanical arms. But 90 miles above the Earth, engines on the unmanned rocket began shutting down before spinning out of control and exploding.
We saw a very sudden big explosion. A huge ball of, both kind of a fireball, but then around it, kind of that expansive jellyfish expanding really quickly.
The FAA ordered ground stops at airports from Orlando to Miami, concerned about debris.
Unfortunately, this happened last time too, so we've got some practice at this now.
In January, a similar explosion sent flaming debris raining down over Turks and Caicos.
That is amazing.
During that failed launch, leaking fuel triggered a series of fires that shut down the engines, the onboard self-destruct system then kicking in as planned.
This won't necessarily impede the work that they're doing. What really needs to be seen are the corrective actions that need to be put in place to make sure that the public remains safe.
NASA has booked the Starship to land its astronauts on the moon later this decade. Responding to this latest setback, SpaceX saying, as always, success comes from what we learn, adding the explosion will offer additional lessons. Rihanna Ali, ABC News, New York.
Lesson, yeah, for sure. And speaking of which, don't forget to pay your parking fines in the city of San Marcos. Starting Monday, the city rolling out what you're seeing there, the parking barnacle. It's like a big yellow briefcase, SpongeBob-looking thing that suctions to the windshield of your car right there. And the only way to get it off, and quite frankly, the only way to see or drive away, is to scan the QR code and pay the fine, and then it pops right off. Now, this is a way to crack down on people who are not parking legally over and over again. It's an alternative to the boot, so it's pretty cool how it works. However, you can pay for it right then. We talked to the city parking enforcement coordinator, Samantha Deo. Here's what she had to say.
People don't like having boots on their cars. They don't like that at all. So I like to make sure that they're safe. With this, it takes them out of the equation. So when they put it on, they can put it on and leave. The person can come, pay their tickets, take it off themselves without putting the techs in any danger.
Now, the driver will only get a barnacle if they have 3 or more unpaid parking fines, and then they don't respond within 10 days. Look at that. With 10 days of being notified of those unpaid fines. But it is cool, though, that you can actually take it off at the moment, or you can just pay your fines, which is probably a better idea. Moving on to sports right now, Texas women's basketball team will play its first SEC tournament game today. In their first season in the SEC, the Longhorns earned a share of the regular season title. How about that? Despite being ranked number 1 in the entire country, Longhorns are the 2 seed in the tournament after losing the coin flip tiebreaker to South Carolina, who they lost to earlier this year. Texas will face Ole Miss at 5 p.m. And speaking of basketball, the San Antonio Spurs returning to KVUE tonight. Spurs taking on the Sacramento Kings in a late one, 9 p.m. tip-off out on the West Coast. Now, because of that game, we will not see you for a KVUE News at 10, but we're going to have a special edition of the news before the game at 8:30. And daylight saving time begins this weekend. Clocks go forward an hour. We wake up 1 hour earlier, all tired. At least one Texas lawmaker is trying to end daylight saving time. Others want to keep Texas in daylight saving time permanently. Now, that is illegal federally right now. There are only 2 states that have ended the time switch. That is Hawaii and Arizona. Now, President Trump wants to get rid of it as well. He posted this on social media that the Republican Party will try to end the practice, calling it inconvenient and costly. Now, to get to the medical reasons it might be a good idea to get rid of it, we sat down with an expert, Dr. Sudha Talavajula, a neurologist and professor at UT's medical school in Houston. Take a listen. So you're a specialist when it comes to sleep. So what is it, doctor, that is so important about what is happening over this next weekend and its effects on people's health?
So daylight saving is something we deal with every year. And we know that in the few days after daylight saving time, we have known through a lot of studies now that there's a high risk of having car accidents, of increased risk of stroke, of heart attacks. The usual things that you might, you might apply to sort of stress response and a response, these things happen usually in response to stress. That's the kind of thing we see after daylight saving. It would be hard to imagine that only 1 hour can make that much of a difference, but that's what large-scale studies have shown.
Doesn't make sense to me. Like you said, how is 1 hour really changing that much? Because numbers it's hard to deny the numbers.
Absolutely. So when you look at, many of these incidents, clearly traffic accidents are probably the easiest to explain. I mean, we have a sleep-deprived population. Almost 1/3 of the nation, there were large-scale surveys that looked at how much sleep people were getting. And we know that large numbers of people are not getting enough sleep, or at least what is felt to be enough by adult standards. So about 1/3 of the population we know gets about less than 7 hours at night. Add to this, you have, let's imagine the scenario of newly minted drivers, adolescent drivers who are already at school, already sleep deprived, and then you push them an hour up, give them less sleep. That's usually where traffic and safety hazards are, the most common. Heart attacks and strokes, that's usually a sort of cumulative factor, which means if you have someone that already has several other risk factors that might predispose you to either coronary artery disease or stroke or any of these cardiac arrhythmias, for example, like atrial fibrillation, the fact of getting less sleep is usually one more factor that sort of pushes the balance towards having an event.
What is the key to changing this time of year? Do we need to go to bed an hour earlier? Do we need to just figure out something else?
Well, some people are able to sleep an hour earlier easy. Most people find it very hard to go to bed earlier than usual. Usually it's easier for us to sleep a little later if we have to, but going to bed earlier than your usual scheduled time is a little bit harder for most people, and that's because of the way our circadian clock is made. Our biology allows us to sleep a little bit later. So sleeping earlier, if at all possible, great. There are 2 main and a few accessory cues that the brain accepts when it looks at what time to fall asleep and keep awake. The main one is sunlight, or any form of light eventually. The second one is melatonin, which is usually produced in response to darkness, and then food and activity cues. So those are all the things that you might want to control. For example, if you know that you're going to be prone to being sleep deprived and you can't quite sleep right, and you have something critical coming up in the next week, you might want to advance your sleep time by 15 minutes every day, if possible at all, for about 3 to 4 days, waking up to bright sunlight each day. And that will help you adjust a little bit sooner. A little bit of melatonin, no more than 1 to 3 milligrams for those that need it at bedtime. Again, moving it up maybe 15 to 20 minutes at a time will also usually help. But remember to eat your dinners differently. I mean, eat those earlier, go work out or whatever else you might do earlier. All of those things add up.
Another thing is this device thing. I mean, the lights, I don't know if the blue light really matters or how it works, but I mean, that is what's keeping all of us up. doing the scroll of death or whatever every night on Instagram. What do you say to your patients about that?
So, I think we often find reasons to be on there that we convince ourselves are really true reasons to be on some form of, internet content or whatever content you're looking through. I mean, at the end of the day, it's discipline and commitment. And I mean, if there are people who can fall asleep at the drop of a hat, they can turn their phone off, hit the bed, and they're out. Now, if you're not that kind of person and you know this intrudes into your sleep, clearly it's important to put it away, not just for the blue light, but also for what's in there. And, we talk to our patients all the time about the content on there. Now, if you're just mindlessly watching a show that puts you to sleep because it's so boring, maybe that's not such a bad thing. The blue light there is not going to interfere with you. But if you're on there, scrolling through news, particularly upsetting news, because that's usually the most common kind of news, I mean, that's really a problem. So usually at least a couple of hours prior to bedtime is usually when we tell our patients to put the phone away if it doesn't help them fall asleep.
There are some politicians in Texas trying to make it so that there's an end to daylight saving time. And do you think, as a doctor who's seen the numbers, what do you think about that idea?
We strongly advocate ending daylight saving time. No one wants to go to sleep, different. I mean, who wants to sleep less, right? Who wants to change clocks 2 times a year? There's so much confusion. I mean, we see it in our clinics and missed appointments. We see it in, missed medication doses, getting done at wrong times. I mean, these are all the things we don't usually think about. So the American Academy of Sleep Medicine is strongly advocating ending daylight savings. The time we have now, which is permanent standard time, is actually the best kind of time there is for human health, both mind and body. This is the time that we were meant to work with. And things usually, again, never go well when you mess around with natural rhythms.
It's like when people are sitting there in bed and they're at that state where they're like looking at the ceiling and they're like, look at the clock, look at the ceiling, look at the clock. What do you tell them? They need to get up and run around, or they need to just count sheep. What do you have to do, doctor?
See, now you're talking about insomnia symptoms, so we're in a slightly shifted track, aren't we? Um, Insomnia is one of the most common problems around. And we tell all our med students, if you have not seen anyone with sleep problems, with backache or with headache, you haven't seen enough patients. I mean, these are the most common problems we see around. So it's not as if this is very special. Almost always, 95 to 99% of the times, it's a case of either anxiety or hyperarousal, which means the brain just doesn't shut down, right? Which means somewhere along the line, as a child, you slept fine for almost everyone, but then somewhere along the way, you lost the ability to fall asleep on your own. And you really have to teach your brain. It is very teachable. The mind and the brain are teachable as long as you teach them how to fall asleep again. But then it takes a little bit of introspection. What is it that you're doing prior to bedtime that revs you up? Are you out there doing things, 2 to 3 times? Do you need like a winding down schedule like every toddler has? Do you need the shower, the bath time? Do you need all of those things? So sometimes it just takes a talk, and we actually have sleep therapists who do exactly this. They train people to fall asleep on their own. Medications help temporarily, especially if it gets to be a problem, and we have people lose jobs and not being able to work because they can't fall asleep. In that case, it's absolutely important to talk to your physician because there are things we can do. As far as simple tips, the unfortunate part of it is that basics always work. Have you ever seen a one fix for insomnia? I mean, there are tips and there are hacks, and the reason all of those are around is because first of all, individuals are different. And there is no way here, it's like diet and exercise except for a change in behavior. And there are guides out there who can help you change that behavior and learn how to fall asleep again. To answer your question, the whole around a very long answer to a short question. If you're sitting there, take the clock out of the room. If you're in bed watching the ceiling and not falling asleep, we usually advise people to get out of bed because we don't want the mind to get used to the idea that the bed is a place to toss and turn in. So we usually have them sit in a chair, read something boring, go to bed only when they're ready to sleep.
Sometimes boring is good, I guess.
Oh yeah, in this case, yes.
Last question. National Napping Day, not a joke, is coming up on Monday, which makes sense, daylight saving time. What about naps, though? Because we have this conversation with the morning shift where we have crazy schedules, waking up early, and they can't go to bed at night. So what do you recommend as adults that we still nap or not?
So all sorts of fun data about napping. Typically, in the traditional sense, in industrialized nation world, sort of the anthropology of sleep, we have forced ourselves to kind of work in this whatever 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 block and decide the sleep is not meant to be in there at all. But we do know that 20 to 30-minute naps, well strategized, placed in the middle of the day, not too late again, can actually help you boost your focus, concentration, and keep you going for some more time, especially if you haven't had enough sleep at night. Now, if those naps go on to become 3-hour naps, they might ruin your sleep at night. But naps are perfectly permissible, and they're in fact good for you.
And that was, again, Dr. Sudha Talavajula, a neurologist and professor at UT's medical school in Houston. Thanks so much for her time. A lot of great information right there. Naps are okay, adults. You heard it from her there first. All right, we're going to leave you now with something else to talk about. A warning from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service: do not release your goldfish into the wild. So take a look at these photos. This is a pet goldfish, right? That's what it's supposed to be looking like. But what? This was said goldfish after 2 years in Lake Erie in Pennsylvania. It grew to be gigantic. Now, goldfish are small and harmless, but once they're out of the tank in the ecosystem, they're considered invasive. Instead of setting your goldfish into the wild, officials say either return it to a pet store, rehome it, don't flush it. You know what happens. But yeah, please don't do that. Don't put them. Can we see that again? I would love to see that big old gigantic megalodon goldfish. Look at, wow. That is insane. All right, that's it for Daybreak Plus. Let us know what you want to talk about. Message us at 512-459-9442. Again, 459-9442. You have to text it. Calling it doesn't work, but yeah, what's on your mind? You find any megalodon goldfish in your neighborhood? You have any secrets for napping or secrets for changing the clocks and not getting cranky and tired? You can also message me at Rob Evans TV on Instagram, Facebook, or X. And stick around because Daybreak continues right here on KVUE Plus. Goodbye, everybody.